child grew and was weaned. It became independent from his mother. And that was the point when Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. Abraham was organizing a party, and obviously he asked his friends to join. And by now we know, some of them at least, we know that Abraham had good relations here. He made friends with Abimelech. If we look up to Hebron, we think of Aner, Eshkol, and Mamre from the Hebron Hills who came and joined. And I want to emphasize here, as we go through this chapter, two things, two crucial clues that are given to us, and they concern both the coexistence in the promised land between those who have the promise, who are elect, and those who are just normal people, like I would say you and me, non-Jews, non-Israelites. So we are in verse 9 now. Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, and it says now that he was playing games with Isaac during this party. First of all, if we think of Ishmael and this whole situation, it's absolutely natural that he is jealous. And what it exactly meant by him playing games with Isaac, we don't know. There are some speculation that he did some immoral stuff with him, or that he seduced Isaac to worship some idols, whatever. We don't know. But the result of this is that Sarah demanded of Abraham, cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heir together with my son Isaac. In Abraham's eyes, this demand was very bad. After all, it was about his son, his firstborn son, Ishmael. But God said to Abraham, do not consider it evil what happens to the boy and the maidservant. Listen to Sarah's voice in everything she tells you, for in Isaac your descendants shall be called. It's the second time now in our footsteps with Abraham. It's the second time in the book of Genesis that the exclusive calling of Isaac is being emphasized, especially in contrast to Ishmael. And I just would like to note here that it is twice, at least twice, re-emphasized in the New Testament that the election of Isaac, or the election of Abraham through Isaac, through Jacob, is exclusive. We don't want to hear that, especially today, as a lot of theologians talk about an Abrahamic eukumene, as we talk about all of us being Abraham's children or whatever. The election is exclusive for the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's what it's over and over emphasized, re-emphasized in the Bible. But then God continues, but also the son of the slave woman I will make into a nation. After all, he is your descendant. So Abraham rose early in the morning. He took bread and the skin of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder along with the child, and sent her away. It wasn't easy for him. She departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba, somewhere a little bit south of here. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the child under one of the bushes, and then she went away and sat down opposite him about the distance of a bow shot, for she said, I cannot see how the boy dies. So she sat opposite him, lifted up her voice and wept. God heard the voice of the boy. Obviously also Ishmael wept, not just his mother, who forsook him and could not see how he was suffering. And therefore, because of the boy, an angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Get up, lift up the boy, and hold him fast with your hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes so that she was able to see a well of water. She went, filled the skin with the water, and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy. It says here very clearly in this text, he was not the elect one, but God was with the boy. So election doesn't say that you're separated from God or not. It says you are elect for a specific task, for calling. Ishmael was not elect, but God was with him. He lived in the wilderness and became an expert with the bow. He lived in the wilderness of Paran. Now, he seems to have gone far away to the south, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. So this is the first possibility of coexistence between the elect and the chosen one and the one who is not chosen, that the one who is not chosen leaves. Now we have a second possibility here in this text. At that time, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham was here in this area. He was close to Abimelech, obviously. "God is with you in all that you do." Abimelech wasn't stupid. He had a relationship with God, and he observed Abraham, and he saw that it was God who was holding Abraham and who was with him. "Therefore swear to me here by God that you will not deal deceitfully with me, my great-grandchildren and my grandchildren." Obviously, Abimelech did not really trust Abraham. It's interesting. He makes him swear to make a covenant with him. "As I have dealt kindly with you, you will deal with me and with the land where you live as a migrant." Abraham said, "I swear." Actually, you have always, if you are here in the area of Beersheba, with the swearing, you always have with making an oath, you always have the name of Sheva in the Hebrew ear. It always swings. And Abraham confronted Abimelech. He took the chance and said, "Wait a minute, there is about the cistern something that I have to tell you, because, well, Abimelech's servants had seized a cistern that Abram had dug." Now we're in verse 26. Abimelech explained, I had no idea who has done this thing. Neither did you tell me, nor did I hear it until today." And Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech. And the two men, it says here, made a covenant. Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock apart. And Abimelech asked Abraham, "What is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs that you have set apart?" And Abraham explained, "Take these 7 mother lambs from my hand. They may be a witness for me that I have dug this cistern." Therefore he called the place Beersheba. It was 7 lambs. Be'er means cistern, so it's the cistern of the 7. And I told you, it's also the cistern that confirms a commitment, because there both of them swore an oath. They cut a covenant at Beersheba, and then Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, rose up and returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. It's kind of a return. Before he denied God, now he again proclaims him. He calls upon the name. And Abraham stayed, it says here, as a migrant. as somebody who was not permanently there, but for some time. We don't know how many years it was. He stayed as a migrant in the land of Philistines many days. So the alternative option of separating is living together. And both options are, from a biblical point, possible. Both options, and if I take that into today's state, if there might be a separation of two states, there might be a living together in one state. From God's point of view, both options are open as long as the Word and the choices or the elections and the directions and the framework that the Lord said is not being blurred by it. So you see here both sides. On the one side, God gives very clear directive, makes very clear choices. On the other side, He gives to the human beings who have to live that out, who have to live here in the land, He gives them a whole option of putting these choices into reality and living according to the directions, according to the Torah of the Lord.